Hey there, gorgeous souls. Welcome back for today's message. Today I've got one coming at you, which is going to be an interesting one that I'm just going to talk out with you guys. So today's message, we're going to integrate talking about our inner strength, our inner weaknesses, what kind of determines that quality, that strength or that weakness. I'm also going to share with you guys some of the things that have been going on for me when I think about masculine and feminine energy, when we talk about all of our human, that pattern of comparing ourselves to others and how it looks a little bit different from a more masculine perspective and a more feminine perspective, and basically leading us all to greater levels of self-empowerment is what I'm ultimately looking to do with you guys today. So as you are tuning in, as usual, I definitely want to hear from you guys. I would love for you to drop some comments, let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, and to participate in today's particular message, because this is going to be one in which I am personally going through, as we all know. That's where these messages all come from, whatever I'm kind of developing through in my own personal growth journey. And I love sharing it with you guys and having the opportunity to talk it out and verbalize it, because I personally make a lot of sense out of my own internal world when I'm able to talk it out and externalize it. So I'm very grateful for you guys to give me the opportunity to do that. And also, the reason why I love to share it in this capacity rather than just in the privacy of a friendship or a partner or a family member or a coach or whoever I'm growing with and wanting to share with, is because I hope that these messages actually get you thinking about waking up to a new area of your life in which it might really relate to and help to empower you to your next level of your potential. And a lot of times where our major growth is kind of blind to us, right? We're kind of oblivious to it, right? And so my hope is that these messages actually can just spark a new conversation, a new monologue with yourself, right? To just to check in and to see whether this can relate or not, or how it can help you to develop greater levels of self-awareness, which I'll talk about in a moment, how that's directly connected to your own internal strength. And also connecting you to the humanness of all of our problems and our challenges, and basically leading you to a place of unconditional self-esteem, right? Where you don't have to be or do or, be anything other than just you in order to be a valuable, necessary part of humanity and our communities and the world and the universe and however far you want to take it, right? So like I said, hope that these messages are impacting you in that way. And if you are finding value in what I share today as we move through this conversation, I would really greatly appreciate if you want to share it with other amazing individuals just like yourself, who we can co-create this space with and expand these different perspectives, which I believe to be the most empowering gift that we can give to anybody else, is the possibility of an expansion of a limited mindset that we can all have through the blinkers and the blinders of our own realities. To have that expanded from my perspective is amazing. All right. So I can see Heath and Sanford in the house. I can see a number of other, for some reason I don't always get to see your names. So that's why I love it when you can drop me a comment and let me know where in the world you're tuning in from, so I get to connect with you. But let's get into it. So today's message is: inner weakness perpetuates competitive comparison. All right, that's a bit of a mouthful. So we're going to break it down, and really why the purpose of today's message is to help you to empower yourself so that you are actually delivering who you are out into the world from a place of authenticity, from a place of empowerment, from a place of genuinely being able to contribute your gifts to the world. Because on the flip side of that, when we end up living out of alignment and not really being aware of ourselves, we end up in this perpetual cycle of comparison and competition with other individuals in the realm, and it takes us further and further away from knowing our core self and being able to contribute that, right? So we end up living a life that is in complete disconnection to who we truly are. And therefore, we're never really fulfilled. We're always chasing the next big thing. And basically, we never end up living our own lives, and then we wonder why we don't feel satisfied with our lives. We don't feel fulfilled, and basically it comes down to the fact that we're not even living our own lives, right? And so this is the perpetual cycle of our human existence, and basically what I want to talk to you guys about is how, like I've just mentioned, our inner weakness perpetuates that cycle of comparison and competition, right? Taking us further and further away from our core self. And on the flip side of that, our inner strength drives more collaborative celebration, right? Where we can basically be so connected to our core self and its uniqueness that there is no competition or comparison in the outside world. And instead of that being this separated me against you dynamic, it basically becomes a celebration of our own core selves and the selves of others and what they get to contribute in their own unique ways, so that we can see that how each of our unique expressions and the expansion of that and the magnification of our greatness and our own unique gifts is actually helpful to all of us, right? It becomes less about me against you in this competitive drive, and it becomes more about, let's celebrate like you being at your absolute best and how that enhances my life, because we're no longer on the individual me against you level in this scarcity mindset. Instead, we've transcended to a collective celebration, right? Of how each individual has something unique that they can contribute when they access their greatness and they dare to dream, they dare to align with who they really are and what really inspires them, without the fears of judgment or condemnation, or just transcending that fear with courage, right? To be able to contribute what their gifts are, knowing full well that when we are all individually at our best, we have the possibility at collaborating and contributing at our highest selves from that core self for the betterment of everybody else, right? We want to be able to collaborate and celebrate. I'm pretty sure there's a song around that, to be able to deliver those gifts and actually, contribute in a meaningful way to the evolution of humanity that we might otherwise not have if we're stuck in the competitive and comparison game. Because what happens when we simply compare, right, and then try and compete with whatever we perceive to be the best, is we are taken away, like I said earlier, from our core self, right? Instead of knowing who we are and having a direct self-awareness with that, and also celebrating that we are a unique contribution, and therefore having a sense of unconditional self-esteem, basically when we're not doing those things, when we're in that comparison and that competition mode, we disconnect from the knowing of our core self, we disconnect from its value, and basically we run this external game that we get completely lost in with other human beings playing the same game, where we're not owning who we are, we're not owning those gifts, and instead it's become this externalized thing that we're trying to chase, right? Oh, now this is the best. Oh, I've got to become that, right? And now no, other people in society are saying that this is the best, and we chase something else. We're kind of trying to mold ourselves to whatever is the best, right? And the the more we play that game and go on that journey, like I said, the more we are taken further and further away from the truth of our core self, the contribution, the unique contribution that we have to make, and basically our own fulfillment in life, because our fulfillment in life is stemming from our own personal growth journey, our breakthroughs as an individual, our connection to who we are, and our ability to contribute our unique gifts to the world and feel like we actually have a meaningful, we can make a meaningful difference in the lives of others, right? And basically, you need access to your core self. You need to be developing and awakening and contributing your core self in order to experience true fulfillment and reach your highest unique potential in this world and actualize yourself, right? And so if we can recognize when we get caught up in the comparison game instead of the celebration and collaboration game, and I'm going to share a couple of really personal experiences in my own life that have triggered this conversation with you guys today. In the hope that it helps you, me sharing my personal journey on this, I hope that it allows you to kind of access a new level of your own self-awareness around this, okay? So couple of things happened. So a little while ago, like a few months ago, I was reading a book and I was really enthralled by it. And then what happened was I noticed, I wasn't conscious of it at the time, but I noticed that my own contributions and my own belief in myself, it started to dissipate kind of slowly, right? Like kind of like a little pinprick and, you know, a big exercise ball or whatever, and over time it's slowly seeping out, so you don't even notice that the pinprick is there. And basically what I've sitting down and really analyzing myself and figuring out and pinpointing where this kind of deflation was starting to begin, basically I realized that what had gone on had been under the surface. I started creating a story based on reading this book and diving into this work. I started to develop a story of comparison, right? Instead of the celebration and collaboration on the ideas, I entered this silent comparison, right? That I was kind of blind to, like the pinprick in the exercise ball that's depleting over time. And basically the story was, this person is contributing in a way that's way better than what I'm wanting to do, right? My authentic way of how I'm inspired to contribute, I feel like it's already being done at a way better capacity, right? And that was the story, the unconscious story that had started to plant its seeds because I was disconnecting from myself and entering comparison rather than a celebratory collaboration, right? On this person's already ideas and all the rest of the amazing human beings in the world, all of their contributions. Instead of celebrating that, I had a moment of internal weakness that I was blind to, that created the story of comparison, and then I just kind of went into deflation and depleting myself. And it wasn't until I got depleted enough that I had to take some, get some higher awareness, right? Build that internal strength through awareness to be able to pinpoint that, and then remind myself of what is necessary to remind all of us of when we succumb to comparison or competition or depletion. And I want to talk about the difference with masculine and feminine there. And basically, when we succumb to that, that throws us off our game and basically perpetuates the cycle of disconnection from our core self, right? And continuing in the external world of comparison. And now I want to talk about how it shows up differently when we are using our masculine energy versus our feminine energy. And again, you guys know I talk about these topics a lot. So at this stage in the game, unless you're really new, I'm just going to kind of assume that you know that and I'll touch upon it for any newcomers right now. But basically, masculine and feminine energy resides in every single human being, whether you're male or female, doesn't matter, right? We've got both. Masculine energy is the part of us that is the train on the tracks, is got the goal, it's going to accomplish it at all costs, it is going for it, it is shutting things down, basically. And feminine energy is more free-flowing, spontaneous, in the moment, connected to emotion, heart, love, and it's all about expanding things, right? Now, like I said, we each have both masculine and feminine energies, but there is a weakness to them and a strength to them, all right? And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. Now, and I will also say that majority of women have feminine energy at their core. It's about 80-20, right? And the same thing applies for men. Majority of men are more masculine at their core, but it doesn't mean that we don't tap into both. But we want to know what's at your core because we want you to be your most authentically aligned individual, all right? So I'm more feminine at my core, but obviously I still utilize a lot of masculine energy and run my own business and go after goals and all those sorts of things. And basically what had happened for me, I'll use myself as an example to articulate this. But basically when we look at the difference between the weak masculine and the weak feminine, right? Because we're looking at how we throw ourselves off from knowing and being connected to our core selves, and also entering the realm of comparison. Well, basically the weak masculine compares and competes. All right. So basically, whenever we're in a weakness and we're in a comparison rather than collaboration and celebration, right? Whenever we're in a comparison, basically what we're doing is we're operating from a scarcity mindset, right? It's like there's not much there, and if you're the winner, then I'm the loser, basically. It's a win-lose constantly. So we're trying to battle to be the winner at all costs, rather than a collaborative, strong, internal strength-driven, abundant kind of perspective of collaboration. Your success is my success, and my success is your success, right? But when we are trapped in the comparison mode, and you might be able to pick yourself up like I just articulated in one of the stories that I wanted to share with you guys today, basically we can recognize whenever we're in comparison, we're in a moment of internal weakness, we're lacking self-awareness, and we are conditional about our own self-esteem, right? We think we need to do or be a certain way in order to be valuable, and we tend to have this win-lose mindset of, I got to be the winner, right, in order to survive. And so how the weak masculine operates with comparison is they compare and then they compete. And basically, when the weak masculine within us is playing that cycle, right? I'm going to try and be better than them. I've got to compete with them, right? I've got to be the best. We end up down this cycle because remember, we're getting taken further and further away from our core self when we're in comparison. We're getting more into this external mindset, and we're just trying to compete with this external thing in disconnection to our core self. Basically, we end up just going down this cycle of chasing hollow goals. This is why we can see so many really wealthy, successful individuals who have, multiple divorces. None of their children talk to them, or, they're just hollow inside, right? They're not fulfilled, right? They're always chasing something bigger and something more in order to feel okay. It's never enough, right? That's the weak masculine at play. And it's a scary cycle because the more we compare and compete, the more disconnected from the core self we become, and it becomes harder and harder to reconnect and get into a place of collaboration and celebration, which enters us into the state of fulfillment. All right. Now, on the flip side of that, when we're operating from the weak feminine side, and this is what happened to me with the story I just articulated for you guys, is we compare, right? We're in a moment of internal weakness. We disconnect from our core self. We become conditional about our own self-esteem. Basically, we compare, and instead of competing, we tend to deplete. Right? We tend to subordinate. We tend to minimize ourselves, right? Whereas the weak masculine is trying to maximize itself and be better. the weak feminine kind of just settles and depletes and, and just minimizes the self, right? And basically what this sees the weak feminine in all of us doing is basically just settling for mediocrity in life, playing small, playing a really small game in life, settling for hollow connections, for, just mediocrity basically. And so you can see how we have both inside of us. One might be more of your core to begin with, and that's determined from my perspective. I'm just playing around with this idea. It feels true to me in my own experience, so you can let me know what you feel about it as well. But I know that my pattern and tendency has been to compare and deplete, right? To compare, minimize. And that's a very weak feminine strategy. Like I said, as a lot of other people, it's more of their core to be in the weak masculine energy, to compare and compete and be better. All right. And so, like I said, we have both. We've all operated in both sides, but there will be more of a core for you. And on the flip side now, what I really want to touch upon with you guys is a comparison with where do we go to, right? If we notice ourselves and we've been stuck in comparison mode, and maybe we've gone to this depletion mode, well, I'm not good enough, like I can never do it, I'm just going to minimize myself, I'm just going to play small in life, right? The weak feminine. Or we've gone to overdrive, weak masculine, like I got to be better than you, and like chasing these hollow pursuits and never really ever been good enough, right? Or never enough to fulfill that void. Basically, where do we go to from there? If we can recognize the pattern and we can have enough self-awareness to recognize where that pinprick began, right? In the exercise ball that's depleting and taking us further and further away from that core self, where do we go to from there? What's the other side of the equation? What can we redirect our energies toward? So basically, I'll paint you the ultimate picture of the strong masculine and the strong feminine in comparison with the weak sides, and point you back to what we've been talking about in terms of what gets you there. All right. So basically, instead of the weak masculine comparing and then competing mindlessly, the strong masculine will instead celebrate the successes of others, collaborate, and convert that unhealthy competition, like me against you, winner, loser, actually into a win-win that builds upon the successes for all. Right? So it can take the success of somebody else, and instead of feeling like I got to compete with that, I got to be better than that, I got to, take that person down, it becomes a kind of fun, healthy competition where it's like, whoa, like they achieved that. Let me see what I can bring to the table, right? And it's not at the expense of anybody else. It's actually for the enhancement and evolution of everyone, including self and other, right? It's collective. And on the flip side of the weak feminine who compares and then depletes, right, and minimizes and plays small in life, instead, the strong feminine celebrates, collaborates, and converts that self-depletion into self-honoring that actually draws out the beauty in others and enhances the expansion of the community, right? Like my self-expression, being all of who I am, shining bright, is actually inspirational for others, right? Like I want to celebrate, not in, I don't want to deplete myself and play small and try and fade out into the corners. I'm actually going to shine as the truth of who I am, all of who I am, and I'm going to celebrate that in others, right? I want that for everybody, is to be all of who they are, to be free to be all of who they are, to shine their absolute brightest, and to know that that is only going to help us expand as a collective, right? And so those two beautiful pictures, from my perspective, can be accessed in our ability to transform our inner weakness into inner strength. Now, how do we do that? I'm looking at it from these two perspectives. Inner weakness being basically inner weakness and strength being directly proportionate, right, to the degree of self-awareness and unconditional self-esteem that we have. So what does that mean? We catch ourselves in comparison mode. We can notice whether we're trying to compete, right, in a hollow way that's trying to just be better than somebody else, or if we are minimizing ourselves, right, we compare and then minimize ourselves and just play life on a small scale, right? And that's part of the journey to build our own self-awareness, which is the pathway to transforming inner weakness into inner strength. It takes us back into connection to the core self rather than how our comparison takes us away from our core self, right? So anything that can allow us to point back in, to use any challenge, anything uncomfortable, anything that we experience in our external world to point it back into our core self for a deeper level of self-awareness and to highlight where we are currently being conditional about our own esteem for self, right? Our own value and worthiness. And so through the pathway of utilizing, anything that's challenging in our external environment, in this case, anytime we're comparing ourselves to others and either competing or we're minimizing, basically to then build the awareness of that, what triggers that, and also allow it to point us to a higher level of self-awareness and also to alert us to where we have been really conditional about our own sense of value and worth, and go on the journey of reminding ourselves of our inherent value for just being a human being. No matter what you've done or not done, you are a valuable, worthy, lovable human being, right? No better or worse than any other expression of humanity walking the face of the planet, right? And to re-engage that muscle, right? It takes time. We've got to have these challenges. We've got to have comparison come up time and time again. We've got to utilize that as lifting the weights, right? Building the muscle. And without it, we don't build the muscle, right? So it's all on the way. It's never in the way, right? The only thing that gets in our way is when we go to sleep to ourselves and we don't back ourselves with going and shining the light on those dark places, right? And to build that self-awareness and empowerment will allow us to reconnect to the core self, be able to contribute the core self to the external world, and basically have a truly meaningful impact in the world and access true fulfillment, right? All the stuff we're always talking about in these messages is leading you back to you and your own fulfillment and your ability to contribute your core self to the world, because that is how you make your life mean something, all right? In whatever way that shows up as the unique expression of yourself, all right? That's my message for you guys today. I really do hope that it has been valuable for you. I definitely want to check in with you guys, and I can see somebody sent me stars. So I want to see who that was and definitely say thank you. And also, if you've got any questions or comments or words of wisdom that you want to contribute to today's message, I would greatly appreciate your co-creation in this space. I love getting to just spark these conversations with you guys and hear your thoughts, right? To expand all of our perspectives, right? To have an open dialogue about stuff that actually matters so that we can figure it out together, right? So anyway, let me check in with you guys. I have got Heath in the house and Sanford, yay, and Daryl from the Great White North from Canada has sent me some stars, and you're on a 2-week streak of sending me stars. You are so appreciated, my friend. It's such a great way that you guys can contribute to these messages. Let Facebook know that you value hearing this content. It really helps me to get out to you guys more, and so appreciated for the support. I love it. And for you guys just coming back time and time again and engaging in these conversations. It's such a gift. So thank you so much. Thank you, Daryl. And Samuel's in the house. Good to see you, my friend. And Phil's here as well. Awesome. And Sanford. Watching your neighbor and making or getting something better than them, making your house or yard look newer or nicer than theirs is. Is it a sense of status or belonging? I have seen friends do this and then end up in a very sad situation. I love it. I so appreciate you showing up, Sanford, and for your contributions and questions and sharing your experience here. You are so appreciated. And what I would say is this: no matter what the external action is, it's not really the good or the bad of the external action of somebody looking after their yard, right? In this example, what it is what is the intention driving it, and where does it leave the person in the end, right? So with your example here, Sanford, you're saying that you're witnessing the action of somebody, looking after, getting more, or getting something that they see that somebody else get, or making their house or their yard look even better, right? But then it leading to a very sad situation, right? Now, basically that would highlight the fact that that person has been in comparison and competition mode. I got to be better than, right? There's a win-lose, there's a scarcity mindset. And that's always going to end you in depletion and sadness, or emptiness, hollowness, right? Because at the end of the day, we innately know that we're all interconnected, right? We're all a collective, right? So to be in comparison and competition with some external, some other expression of our humanity in another person is really just to be attacking of the self, right? It's to be competing and trying to be better than something that is already us, right? Like, so it always leaves us in this hollow result. On the flip side of that, it could be the exact same action. It could be seeing somebody get something that you are inspired by, right? You're like, whoa, like I didn't even know that could potentially have a positive impact on my sense of being, or whatever it is, right? Or having a high standard of looking after our material items, for instance, but having like a deep appreciation and gratitude for the beauty and the things that we get to create and get to enhance, and maybe growing plants, or all these different things that actually enhance the soul, right? They make us feel even better. We're being inspired by other people versus they got that, I got to be better than that, right? So it's basically that's the difference between unhealthy competition and healthy competition from my perspective, right? Unhealthy competition is there's always got to be a winner and a loser, and I got to take you down at all costs and it doesn't matter what my core authentic self wants. It's what's externalized, what are people saying that is the best, right? And I got to be better in everybody else's eyes and go to sleep to the eyes of myself, right? Versus healthy competition being, wow, like that is what is possible. I love that. I'm inspired by that. Let me see what else I can add to the equation here, right? It's a win-win. It's an expansion versus, a win-lose and a contraction, right? So I hope that was of value to you. I so appreciate the share, Sanford. Thank you so much for contributing. You are so appreciated, as you know. And I've also got Samuel. You've got a top fan symbol. I love that. Awesome. Great words. I'm guessing it's partly about balancing the ego. Yeah, absolutely, right? Like, the ego is not something that we want to be rid of completely, right? The ego is just an aspect of the self that has a lot of benefits, and when left unchecked can fall victim to creating a lot of drawbacks in our lives. So the ego, we just want to utilize how our ego shows up and be aware of that, right? Like have the watcher within us be able to determine the intentions behind the actions that we are taking. And basically that will determine whether we want to continue down that path or not, right? Like from Sanford's, example there, like if we recognize the ego wants to get on to being fixing or having a beautiful home, but it's coming from this intention of, what everybody else will think and wanting to be seen as the best and better than, right? Versus, no, just have really high standard for how I want to show up in the world, and this is part of self-care and creating a sanctuary for myself and all those that I love and care about to come in and appreciate, right? Same action, very different result when we question the intentions behind all that we do. And I'll just feel called to share this little piece as well. I get sometimes people commenting on the fact that I wear makeup and do my hair and I love nice clothes and all those sorts of things. And their initial reaction, a lot of people who don't know me and just see me, think that I'm a very superficial person, right? A very superficial woman who just cares about like her hair and her makeup and like, how about be real, basically. But those people don't know me, right? And basically why my intentions and why I show up in the way that I do and present in the way that I do is because that's part of, like, it's like enhancing my individuality, right? Like, it's like, to me, it's a self-care celebration, loving myself and caring about myself on all levels, you know, not just spiritually, not just physically, not just mentally, not just emotionally, all of it. And I want to, like, what feels best for me is to be the full expression of myself in every aspect. And so that's what I choose to do, right? And basically, so it can be the same external action, you know, be driven by very different things, right? Could be driven by a lack of self-esteem versus valuing myself, right? And if we are driven by external judgments, then that could see also somebody either do what I do and present in the same way physically that I do, or they could do the complete opposite and want to deplete that, right? This is just part of it, right? So it's all about looking at what are the intentions of the individual, and you know what? Only the individual can truly know, right? And we can be very good at deceiving ourselves, right? But at the end of the day, you know, it's you on the internal level that will be fulfilled or not fulfilled. So it's your, it's the onus is really on you to determine your own intentions, and don't worry about, you know, the Joneses next door, right? What their intentions are. It's more about your own, right? And if you really wanted to have a positive impact on people who are, you know, having poor intentions that are leading them further and further away from their core self and away from their own fulfillment and self-actualization, if you really wanted to have an impact on them, you would just focus the attention back on you, about being the most self-aware you can possibly be, and also dropping the conditions on what makes you a valuable human being, right? And just knowing that we're all equal in all value, right? And so that those two aspects, deeper self-awareness and operating from a place of unconditional self-esteem, and noticing when the conditions come up, noticing when you lost awareness, and then just utilizing that as the growth journey to continue building those valuable muscles, you will become such an asset, right? The asset that you have been born to be in the world. You'll be putting it into action, right? You will be actualizing the potential that you were born for by shifting out of comparison, competition, and depletion, and shifting that into that celebration and collaboration and expansion because of the successes of everybody around you and your own successes being contributed, all right? So there's my little rant again for today. I love it. Awesome. So thank you, Samuel. And Daryl says there's a good book by Tim Grover called Winning. Oh, I'll have to check it out. Thanks for the suggestion, my friend. And Javier, good to see you. From San Diego, always good to have you, my friend. Hope this message has served you and added value to you. If it has, please do share it with other people in your life. That is such a gift. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys for showing up live with me today. You are so appreciated. I absolutely love hearing your questions, your perspectives, your experiences, your words of wisdom, everything that you want to contribute to this community and these conversations are really, really valued. And I hope that this message has sparked something in you to just check in with yourself and notice where in your life maybe you're succumbing to a bit of mindless comparison that could be depleting you or sending you down a path where you're chasing hollow competitive ventures, right? And basically allow it to just settle within you that whenever we're in comparison mode, leading us to the competition or the depletion, basically it's taking us further and further away from our core selves, therefore further and further away from the unique contributions we have to make and the fulfillment that we personally get to experience in this life, right? So just use it to not judge yourself, right? But to go, yes, celebrate the win of self-awareness by noticing the comparison mode and then converting it into high levels of self-awareness, noticing the conditions you place upon your own esteem for self and value and worth, and doing the work to build those muscles and reminding ourselves of our own unique value that's not in competition with anyone else and should be celebrated in the collaboration with the celebration of other people's core selves. All right, so that's my message, and you know that I always want to leave you with the reminder to go out there and honor your authenticity, to deepen your intimacy, and definitely contribute your unique gifts meaningfully and purposefully. All right, and if you would ever like support on discovering who it is that you are, what it is that you really want, and having the courage and the audacity to go after it and be all of who you are in this world, in life and in relationship, then that's what I do. So you can reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you personally. All right, and saying hello to William and anybody else just joining now. I hope you catch the recording, get a ton of value from today's message. Thanks again for showing up, and I can't wait to see you guys again very, very soon. Sending you all of my love.